Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys like this type of content, be sure to subscribe and thumbs up this video. It's increasingly clear that Sister Wives stars Kody Brown and Robyn Brown are now on the outside looking in. Kody used to have 4 wives. Robyn entered the family in 2010, but his original 3, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, had been with him since the early 90s. Mary was the sole legal wife of Kody until she consented to divorce him in order for him to legally marry Robyn and adopt her children. That choice, however, changed the dynamic of the family. Kody became more and more devoted to Robyn, frequently referring to her as his soulmate, and his favoritism started to distance the other wives. Christine left Kody in 2021. Janelle did the same in 2022, and Mary in 2023. Kody's response to the COVID-19 pandemic did nothing but further the fractures. The glue that held the Brown family together began to crumble. They had bought a house called Coyote Pass in 2018 for $820,000 as a still united family. But after the split, Kody and Robyn remained there until late 2024 and eventually sold it for $1.5 million in April 2025. This move added fuel to the fire, as Janelle and Mary felt Kody had betrayed them. The way things played out only confirmed what many of us have been thinking. Kody and Robyn are no longer part of the core Brown family. Kody appears farther away than ever. He spends almost all of his time with Robyn and their 5 children, hardly caring about calling back his other children or ex-wives. He's constantly made it known that he feels wronged by them. Yet instead of being accountable, he responds with sarcasm and defensive comments. Perhaps the most revealing statement he's ever made was, "It's your fault if I don't love you." That tells a lot. His refusal to defend his love for Robyn, regardless of how it affects others, is a warning sign. It's obvious he has trouble being responsible for his own actions. His actions have been uncomfortable for others to be around, and that's a huge reason why his original family desires space. They view him more as a villain than a father figure at this point. What actually did surprise fans, however, was Kody and Robyn's response to Garrison Brown's death. Garrison, the child of Janelle and Kody, took his own life in March of 2024. He and Kody were estranged at the time. Garrison had made his dislike of his father very public prior to his death. Following his cremation, Garrison's remains would be buried with his grandmother in Wyoming. Kody, Robyn, and 4 of their 5 kids went to Kody, Wyoming prior to the burial. But en route to the funeral, numerous fans were shocked by their actions. Rather than a mournful, respectful passage, it appeared more like a holiday. Robyn actually stated, "We had a great day seeing the sights," and it was profoundly inappropriate to many viewers. Worse still, Garrison's ashes were not even brought out on the trip, fueling rumors that he was left in the car or not treated with respect. As one Reddit user put it, the trip was a fucking vacation rather than a funeral, and I couldn't agree more. It seemed like Kody made the whole experience about him and how he was feeling, rather than about respecting Garrison's memory. To me, it seemed like Kody was grieving for himself, not for his son. There's a Reddit comment that stuck with me. "The guilt is eating him alive," and it shows. The manner in which Kody and Robyn conducted the trip only served to further push them away from the rest of the family. Mary, Janelle, and Christine no longer wished to have anything to do with them. And since the Coyote Pass house has sold and Janelle and Mary got their money, they're closer to severing ties for good. They no longer have business with Kody. The only link now is their children, and even then, Kody appears aloof. By keeping their relationship at the cost of all the rest, Kody and Robyn have isolated themselves on an island. Kody might still be hankering for attention, but absent his other wives and absent polygamy, he is no longer relevant to Sister Wives. What was central to the show is no longer present. It seems like everyone is more curious about Mary, Janelle, and Christine's lives. Kody had his choice, and his actions, particularly in the aftermath of Garrison's death, have only made it clear. He's on the outside looking in now, and I don't believe he knows how far he has driven everyone away. Headache is not something that I want. That strange statement from Kody Brown on Sister Wives tells us a lot more than you might think. While Kody will frequently portray himself as a doting, dedicated husband to Robyn Brown, his final still married wife, there's an undercurrent of tension that indicates perhaps his emotions are more complicated. Some viewers have begun to wonder, does Kody really want to add another, potentially younger wife to the mix? Kody's comments regarding taking on another wife were particularly odd. He didn't comment that he wouldn't seek out another because he was complete with Robyn or couldn't possibly see himself with anyone else. Rather, he mentioned that he didn't desire the headache, the questioning, the trust issues, the issues. That is a long way from an individual being deeply in love. His reluctance wasn't based on passion, but based on exhaustion. So, what's really going on here? Maybe Kody isn't as into monogamy as he tries to appear. Maybe he's afraid to rock the boat with Robyn, knowing she expects a perfect fairy tale romance. After all, Robyn does love her fantasy life. She reportedly spent $75,000 on American Girl dolls and custom clothes for them. Perhaps Kody feels pressured to play the role of the charming prince she's imagined for herself. This could be the reason behind the over-the-top gestures, the coordinated David Yurman rings, the $2.1 million home they purchased together, and the excessive on-camera romantic talk he dispenses. Kody may be attempting to be too much the man Robyn desires, even if that is not really who he truly is. Or perhaps he is her perfect man, but he's certainly not the prince he appears to be. Humans are complicated. Maybe Kody is acting instead of actually living. Robyn herself has confessed that Kody is a difficult person to live with, even going so far as to accuse him of ruining their relationship. That's not really perfect harmony. It's been clear for some time now that these two, once key figures in a sprawling plural family, are now outsiders. They were the heart and soul of the Brown family. Now they're disconnected, estranged from the people they used to live so closely with. To see how we arrived at this place, we must look back. Kody dipped his toes into plural marriage years ago, starting with 3 women who were there for him through the good times and bad. They created a big public family and were the pillars of what Sister Wives was founded on. Next came the 2000s and Robyn, who brought fresh vitality and fresh complications to an already complicated dynamic. Mary was then Kody's sole legal wife. She relinquished her status to allow Kody to marry Robyn legally and adopt her kids. It was meant to bring them closer together. It was instead the beginning of a shift that transformed everything. Kody grew closer to Robyn on a deeper and more intimate level than he did with the others. He preferred her, not only emotionally, but in almost all his decision-making. And when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, his decisions, many of which were about Robyn, triggered frustration and conflict. His preference was no longer possible to overlook. Ultimately, the initial 3 wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, felt displaced. One after another, each made the difficult choice to depart. The once solid family was broken. Now, in the 2000s and 20s, Kody and Robyn are in a decidedly different position. The large family is no more. The public is paying attention, but not with admiration, rather with increasingly skeptical eye. And Kody, despite all the boasts of fidelity, doesn't appear as happy or as contented as he'd have everyone think. Soon after the departure of the first wife, the rest followed in quick succession. By the penultimate year of the decade, Kody and his preferred wife Robyn were still residing on the family homestead. property the Browns had acquired when they were once a harmonious home. The residence was situated in an area named after a shared wild creature, and when they purchased it during the late 2000s and 10s, it was considered an investment for years to come, replete with potential. During the spring of the 2020s, that estate was sold, almost for twice what they paid for it. But behind that lucrative sale lay deep emotional repercussions. The estate had long been the cause of tension between Kody and his former wives, especially Christine and Janelle. They felt betrayed by the choices Kody made, neglected when it came to the fate of a property they had shared together. Their perception of fairness only further opened the widening gap, making it all the more clear that Kody and Robyn were no longer part of what was left of the Brown family. This expanding distance wasn't solely emotional, it was intentional. Throughout the latest season, it became more and more evident that Kody himself has been a large contributing factor in the breakdown of his relationships. His attention has become laser-sharp, nearly solely fixated on Robyn and their children, with virtually no attempt to mend the harm he has created in his relationships with his previous wives. Statements such as, "If I don't love you, it's your fault," perfectly encapsulate a disturbing way of thinking, where blame is redirected and responsibility is dodged. These words exhibit a pattern that has wholly estranged not just his former wives, but also viewers. The arguments between Kody and his ex-wives are usually characterized by bitterness and self-pity, as he is cast as the victim of their alleged shortcomings instead of taking blame for himself. He tends to present his all-consuming love for Robyn as a sort of moral vindication for the failure of his other relationships. But one relationship being used to account for others failing is not acceptable to a lot of his fans. It's made Kody seem less the victimized patriarch and more the villain of his own life. The original wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, are no longer interested in being with him. They've opted for solitude and self-respect over a continued presence in his increasingly aggressive world. And sadly, his attitude only serves to alienate them further. A turning point arrived in tragedy. Early in 2024, Kody and one of his first wives lost their son, who had committed suicide after living in estrangement from his dad for many years. The grief from that loss ran deep. The young man had openly expressed his anger and resentment toward Kody, and their relationship was visibly damaged. Following his death, it was decided that he would be cremated and buried beside his grandmother in a distant western state famous for its rugged, unspoiled landscapes. Kody, Robyn, and 4 of their 5 children made the trip there, presumably for the funeral. But the attitude of the trip left many unsettled. There were instances throughout their journey where the ashes seemed to be nowhere to be found, left behind in the car, unfixed, questioning the seriousness with which the family was approaching the memory of the son. And though it was supposed to be a dignified goodbye, their attitude at times seemed almost that of a vacation. Flippant tours and relaxed excursions did not sit right, as if the weight of the occasion hadn't quite sunk in. Audiences saw, and they complained. Most of them believed that Kody's sorrow came across as more self-centered and about how he was feeling rather than about keeping his son's memory alive. The grieving came across as individual and not shared. This manner of coping with loss only deepened the emotional separation between Kody and everyone else in the family. It made Kody and Robyn feel even more like outsiders, shut off physically, but also emotionally, from the heart of the family. The third and final split was sealed when the family home was sold and the shares were received by Christine and Janelle. It was not merely a money matter, it was a symbolic splitting. The house that had kept them all connected was no more, and with it went the last physical reminder of a life shared. with co-parenting then being the sole remaining connection between Kody and his former wives. Even that is tainted with Kody's erratic commitment and emotional distance. He and Robyn have successfully opted for solitude, keeping their marriage intact at the expense of all else. It's a voluntary exile, and one that greatly demonstrates the consequences of prioritizing personal desire over harmony in the collective. As Sister Wives continues to film the broken family's growth, Kody is fighting to maintain his position in the limelight. His initial claim to fame, a big, unusual family united by plural marriage, is lost. With but one wife remaining, he's no longer the man that originally engaged the viewers. Rather, the tales of his former wives, each forging new trails, becoming independent, and remaking their lives, have captured the public imagination. Kody's increasingly contentious behavior, his favoritism, his inability to take responsibility, and his aggressive responses have made him less of a leader and more of a cautionary example.